The Survivor specialists, Phil and Will, are back. And we finally got a boot post-merge in Survivor Kaoh Rong. It was a complete arrogant person getting booted. One of funny post-boot. Nick thought it was fantastic. Thought this episode was pretty good. I didn't think it was fantastic, but I thought it was interesting. And we'll get into that a little bit more. We got to talk about Ty's complete weird, strange confession that there's a super idol in play. And we got to talk about, the fact that this girls' alliance might actually be a real thing right now, Will. And do you think that this is just going to carry through to the end? Like, even though they didn't necessarily vote together tonight, just because they want it to be girls versus guys, do you think this is going to carry through to the end?
I don't know if it's going to carry all the way through, just because I think we have a good amount of goats that are males, despite, Kyle and Scott's just tear-jerking stories about their families and everything tonight. I still look at both of them as goats, where you take them to the end. You probably stand a pretty good chance of winning. The arrogance continues, and not only does it continue through the edit, but it continues through other people talking about it, and that's much more important when you're looking at jury votes. So I think the girls at this point, they want to stick with the girls, but when it gets really down to crunch time and you're looking at who you're sitting next to, I mean, you don't really want to sit next to Debbie. You don't want to sit next to Aubrey. Julia's 18, has that going. Michelle is very social, playing a great game. Sydney, the same thing. So you look at the women remaining, and it's like, wow, they're all pretty threatening to sit next to. That's why I think guys will probably stick around until the finale. But I'd like to see a girls' alliance. I'm game for it. Yeah, this episode wasn't fantastic, but very entertaining throughout. A lot of stuff to talk about here. The vote was, we did get a blindside, and I know it wasn't the most shocking one. I hate that the preview says blindside in it. That didn't really cross my mind until the hashtag came up, so I wasn't thinking that throughout the episode. I'm sure many people who really, follow the show, follow this podcast, that's kind of in their head, like there is going to be a blindside. Then Nick's going home. It's almost like they tell you blindside makes it not a blindside. So I wish they didn't talk about that so much. But other than that, I mean, lots to get into. I enjoyed it. Loved the temptations during the challenge. Off from the top.
Oh yeah, and this was an interesting. It's maybe the first time Survivor's ever done this. They actually came in at the exact same scene that we ended with last time. And this might be the first time Survivor's ever done this in the entire history of the show, which is crazy. Sir Jeff didn't even play up that it was a Survivor first. But I know it's happened with tribal councils before. But it has never like where they actually just come back, and we're picking up from where we left off. Even when there have been other medevacs in the show. Like this picked up with Scott being like previously on Survivor, you can be happy while also being sad or whatever the hell he said. And it's like, we've never seen this before. Like, Neil just left, and this is how everybody's reacting to it right now, in the moment.
Yeah, that did catch me a little bit off guard. I'm not sure that's a Survivor first, though. It'd be if you're, in the comments, let us know or tweet at us if you can recall another time. It wouldn't shock me if it was, but it wouldn't shock me, I mean,
I know it's happened at tribal councils. It happened with the Sari versus Danielle thing. It happened with there was another one too. I forget what it was, but it's happened at tribals. But I'm not sure that you've actually picked up on a beach exactly where we left. This is a continuation. This is part two. Just talking about the token chain thing. This is part two of what happened in part one.
It's very true, and I think this part two did a really good job. I mean, Scott had the perfect line at tribal council. What's the best way to keep 7 people together? Not have 6 days. To wait to vote. I mean, the paranoia, like we saw tonight, you let, the brains get in people's ears and plot and plan, all that stuff. But yeah, I like what you're saying about this kind of, we jumped right back into it. It really was a true 2-part episode. Almost reminded me of Breaking Bad. I mean, so many of their episodes started in the very same location as it ended. Even going to season, like season 5A to 5B. With Hank on the toilet realizing he came right out. Oh yeah, it is one season, but they were a year apart. They filmed them differently different years.
I hear you.
So I like 100%. Yeah.
It's probably gonna happen with another show right now too. But that was It was interesting, and what I thought originally here is we kept saying like it's probably gonna be one of the girls who gets voted out from this just because they're more threatening to win. Joe's not really a threat, and the first person who gets a confessional tonight is Joe. And I was like, oh, Joe's done. Like, this is it. Joe's really not had that much screen time. And now all of a sudden he's going to be the one who leads off the episode. Like, he's done. He's got no numbers. He's got no nothing. And then he wasn't even a part of the episode the rest of the time, except when they were making fun of him. Not even making fun of him, but just saying that he
Yeah, I mean, I've been kind of guilty of reading the edit so much that I thought the exact same way. Why is Joe getting the opening confessional? I think Peter got the opening confessional in his boot episode. So I was like, this definitely is fishy. It's almost like they know we're looking for that, and they're like, all right, let's just toss Joe in here, throw people completely off. I'm all for it. I guess the whole Neil thing, I still like. It's still Aubrey that had a lot to say about it, and Aubrey had a huge episode tonight as well. I guess we can get to the reward challenge. It was. Do you have anything during the challenge? Because her post challenge was a very interesting confessional and like her breakdown.
Well, I just want to say one thing. Like, Julia absolutely killed it with who she picked, and she absolutely killed it like in that challenge. Like, she probably fell off once. I mean, they probably didn't show it, but like she probably did fall off once or twice. But like, she killed it in that challenge. She picked the perfect team because anytime you have Scott Pollard, it's like, oh, that's such a disadvantage. He can hold all of them up with his body himself. So, yeah, he's going to take up the entire platform, but he can hold up 4 other people, especially when 3 of them are the size of Debbie, Ty, and Julia. He can hold up Nick. That's not a challenge for him. So I thought she did that perfectly. And, yeah, it did. It made for a really interesting Aubrey confessional at the end where it's like one thing's just leading to another, and I can't even get my head above water.
Yeah, but the team picking, it didn't – I mean, we didn't see them pick teams, so we don't know exactly how it went. I assumed Julia took Scott first, and then – Aubrey went Jason, and we didn't see how it go. It's not like they strategically planned this. It's not like us playing fantasy football, doing mock drafts and, reading articles. It's like they did this once and it just didn't work out. I don't think it's some big decision by Aubrey or some huge mistake. It's a reward challenge. I think she kind of needed to relax there. Neil getting medevac was not her fault. Maybe Neil not giving an idol was her fault, as we heard in Neil's exit interview, but it wasn't like these two big mistakes. I think she was being a little bit hard on herself. Still interesting. I loved how Jeff saw the teams and immediately like picked out the narrative, like consistent versus super big and super small. He sees those things right away, picks up on them. You got to love Jeff at all times looking for, little storylines like that.
Yeah. And it was interesting to see how this actually played out. I mean, I didn't expect him to kill it so much in the portion of actually getting Julia across. But the other tribe, they just couldn't keep the pole steady. And we got a great line of Aubrey takes a dump. One of my favorite Jeff lines. That might be up there towards the top now because we get so many balls ones, but like Aubrey takes a dump is a great line. That's classic Survivor. That could have been the name of the episode.
Right. Yeah. Jeff is now aware of this too. He, does his best to say the most absurd things when you hear them out of context. I mean, like you're saying, at all these ball challenges, it's almost like they do these ball challenges just so he can get those lines in. Like they had one, I think it was last episode, like Neil or Nick's balls like clinking together or something like that to that extent. All the stuff.
This was new.
This was new.
This
was
awesome. New because it's always balls. It's always like poles and balls. This was just Aubrey takes a dump, and to me, that's just gold. I'm sorry, that's gold. I laughed really hard. I can't help it.
Okay, so let's just talk quickly about, because this was a big confessional. She has it after the challenge. She's crying. What does this mean for Aubrey? What are we getting here? Because we're getting so much of her, and she was prominent last week. She was prominent tonight, especially in the vote. It was kind of her, making moves. I think Sydney probably gets MVP here because she kind of spearheaded this move. But I'm having a hard time like understanding what the show is trying to tell us about Aubrey and like where she is going to end up.
I feel like it's almost turned into, and once again, I know everybody's going to get tired of hearing this, but I feel like Michelle is a favorite, Sydney's a favorite, and I feel like now Aubrey's the favorite. And I feel like before this, Debbie was probably the favorite from that group, and since the merge, she didn't seem like she fit in too well last week. It seemed like she was kind of rubbing people the wrong way. And tonight, we're waiting from Aubrey. I think they are trying to play her up as a very, very heavy, with a very, very heavy underdog at 8. And I think she's overcoming, and that's like something that Survivor loves. And they kind of even her edit has done that where it started off really slow and like, the first episode was so bad. It was like, she's going to be the first boot. And then it kind of, now it's picking up. I mean, they're really playing her up to make a comeback here. And I don't know when we do our power rankings this week, who the hell I'm going to put at the bottom, but I don't really fear for the Brains right now. I think the Beauties are in more trouble because they're the ones who screwed over Scott and Jason. And I do think that even Sydney's in a little bit of trouble here because Scott put her out and get the revenge on her. And you got Kai, who might still be really close with Scott and Jason. I don't really fear for the Brains right now. I feel more for the people who betrayed these three guys where two of them have idols.
Yeah, it is a good point. We are now level 333. And so I think that's the Brains. They were viewed as this threat coming in with 4 people. Now, they lost Neil. Now everyone's even up. There's no one who has the power. The Brains also are less threatening in challenges. That's another reason to keep them around. It was very interesting, I think, just the previously on Survivor. They really harped on Debbie when they sure, it kind of was the story that, like, Debbie was turning people off to working with the Brains, but it was completely, look, Debbie is a nut. Aubrey got screwed because of this. And then Aubrey got screwed because Neil went out. It was, like you're saying, it is this underdog edit where she is just getting problem after problem after problem, and then tonight she pulls the blind side. So maybe this was like a single episode arc where Nick, the arrogant guy, is now finally gone, or this could last throughout the season. We'll get into that Sunday when we do our predictions, which is always a lot of fun. So let's hop now to.
And we might have to do on our predictions. So I'm just going to throw this in real quick, maybe to throw it out there. But we should probably do our 3-3-3 thing, where it's like who are the favorites, who can win, and who's done. Because I think this is interesting right now as to who looks like a favorite and who has no chance. Because if you move on from here and you go to where they're actually eating ice, one thing I have to say, I hate that they did this right at the camp. I like when people can go off and they can talk strategy and like they can really bond over it. Being at camp, like I was saying, you guys can be rowdy, you guys can be loud. Like they weren't able to completely do it, but we got to hear from Scott here about his family life. And earlier on, we got family life. And I don't know why suddenly Survivor wants to humanize these two if they're really going to turn into these huge bullies that we think they're going to. Because why humanize them now? Why didn't you do this earlier? And I get that these moments happen now, but why show them now? You know what I'm saying? And, like, who was it that said, like, I'd vote for Scott to win the money? I think that was Drew.
I think it was Sydney. Sydney's like, hell, I'll give him some money.
Sydney. Because she knows, like she said, I get to see all the layers of Jason at this point, which also another interesting point here with the whole Sydney thing. When she said, I've seen every side of Jason so far, this shows that, like, people are probably rubbed the wrong way by Jason when you first see him. He's got all the tattoos. He's a big, brawny guy. He's kind of loud, obnoxious. But I think he does grow on people. And I don't think that he's as much of a goat as Scott is right now, even though I think Scott grows on people too. I just think Scott still with the money is a goat. I don't think Jason's as much of a goat. I think that people start to realize how he is as a person, and they get used to it, and they're like, he's not actually a bad guy. This is just how he is. But when you first see him, you just assume he's going to be a scumbag because – it's all look, like it's just how it is.
Yeah, I wonder how people take that story from Kyle. Like, if I'm out there on Survivor, and I wouldn't question whether it's true or not, but I would question like his intentions. And I know as the viewer tonight, we got to hear, look, someone asked me about it. If someone asked me, I am going to tell the truth. I know a lot about the topic. I want to, make people aware of autism, all this stuff. But it was clearly playing to people's heartstrings. I don't know if it was even a good move because I think you kind of put a target on your back. I don't want to sit next to that guy. But we only really heard from Sydney. I think we got a cut of Julia really staring deeply. But, I mean, what did Michelle think of this? What did Debbie think of this? And maybe we heard from I just don't remember a lot of reactions. And that's kind of what I want to see. It's almost like the Savage story last season where he was talking for so long and everyone was just kind of staring. And I was like, what are they thinking? And then Jeremy walks off and cries. I'm like, oh, okay. They're on Savage's side here. They understand it. They're feeling with him. But you didn't really know until Jeremy walked away. I still don't really know what everyone thinks about Kyle.
No, I completely understand that. And this one of the more interesting ones to bring up here was when Todd's sister in China had like miscarriage, and everybody thought that was gameplay. And I remember like Amanda was ready to betray Todd right there because she thought that he was playing to the cameras. And she's like, I don't mean to be like this, but when you're playing, everything that people say seems like it's being used. And this is why I give Jeremy so much credit last season. He doesn't have an autistic daughter, nothing like that. His wife didn't have a miscarriage, but his wife was pregnant. He had another kid coming in, and he did not bring that up once until the final tribal. And it's almost like Jason wanted to let this sit for a little bit, but this was the time to do it. You know what I mean? And like it really goes to show how hard it is to keep these types of things in when you're living these regular situations and people ask you about your kid. She's autistic. That's, there's nothing that can be done about that. This, that's the way you're going to talk about your daughter. Like, you're going to let people in on that. And, it's interesting that it actually took this long to get to this point for him to actually reveal it. Because you would think that he would have revealed it too earlier.
Right. Yeah. You know what I mean? That doesn't cross your mind not to be honest about that kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
Everything you said can be used against you, can be used for you. All that stuff. I'm so confused on just the overall tribe's perception of Kyle. We get a lot of things about arrogance from like that group, that they say that Brawn group. Maybe they'll say Scott and Kyle. I don't know. He seems likable, but I don't know. Because you know whether he's like a contender or whether he can't win. I mean, maybe he's a front runner. I mean, I really don't know where to place him right now. He is fun to watch. I enjoy him on the show, so I hope he sticks around for more. Where do you want to hop to next here?
Where do we go? I mean, what happened after this? I think I just want to talk about the trickiness of this right now with the Scott and Jason thing, because like they are being talked as so arrogant, but like you said, it's so hard to place them right now. The thing with Scott and Jason is we saw them telling things that made people feel something. And we heard two reactions that said, we got to get rid of them either because they're a threat to win, or I want to bring them to the end, like that. Like, I'd vote for him at the end, like either way. But I think there is more I think they can win the game. And that's what's weird right now is like but I do think that they can win. They're not like Russell villains where nobody's going to vote for them at the end. Like, they can win the game, I think. I really do.
I think Kyle way more than Scott. I still don't understand, like, you're out here to get money for your, what do you say, his brother? Or his cousin?
Well, his whole family, really.
His whole family. It's
his whole family.
All right, dude, like, I think you don't need to come out on Survivor to do that. Like, you only, as Jeff Kent put it, it's only like $600,000 after taxes anyway. Do you not have an extra $600,000 from, your NBA career, your broadcasting career? You probably do. So I just don't buy that story. I don't. Not that he doesn't want to help them or that he doesn't love his family, but that's his reason for going on Survivor. I have to call BS there.
I kind of agree. I don't think that that's his whole reason for wanting to win and stuff. But you know what? If it's going to get you further, I appreciate the gameplay, and he knows that there's a huge target on his back, and that people, if he sits at the end, people probably won't vote for him. He's got to give him – see, like, this is a different situation than the oh, my God, what the hell is it? Than the Jason one. Because with Jason, he comes into this game, and he doesn't need to tell people why they should vote for him to win because nobody knows his backstory. Scott has to tell people why to vote for him to win because everybody knows that he's got millions and millions of dollars. So, like, I appreciate this game plan going this hard and really making it seem very, very sincere. It seemed like everybody bought it. And I appreciate him doing this going as hard as he can because it makes for a way better season than if, you're not trying to do these things.
Right. I'd still put him in the can't win category for now. If we had to do 3-3-3, he is definitely in that bottom three.
Okay.
Just for me. But we'll do that on Sunday. It was the whole Sydney thing. That was before the immunity challenge, right? Where Nick went off to talk to Julia.
Yeah.
Okay,
because they went on their the boat, and that was beforehand.
Right. That's that's our the main topic before we get into the challenge and post challenge and the boat. It seemed like Kyle had a pretty good say, not even a say, but a pretty good explanation to Sydney as like what was happened and what went on, and I believed Kyle for the most part. Sydney still didn't buy it. whose side would you like take, and who was right here? Was Sydney kind of in the wrong to blow up, or is this something you really got to keep track of?
I think it's something you got to keep track of, but I think she overreacted because it's not like Nick pulled aside somebody who wasn't in that alliance. It's not like he pulled aside Aubrey and was like talking to her. Like he pulled aside Julia, and like everybody knows that that's supposed to be the 7. So like I think she overreacted to it, but at the same time, when the 3 guys are being that arrogant, and we don't really see how arrogant they're being the entire time, maybe you're a little more worried because you just never know what's up their sleeve. And she knows Kyle has an idol, so maybe she's worried that Nick might have one or something like that too. Like you just never know. So I get it, but I think she overreacted a bit.
Right, I completely agree. I think she kind of called this out in front of the whole tribe, it seemed like. I mean, Debbie, Joe, and Aubrey, at least one of them had to be within distance, and you don't want to show that to the people on the bottom, that there are cracks or that you're having problems. I mean, unless that was Sydney's goal to, like, she already had this plan where she wanted to get the brains on her side. I don't know. It didn't seem like that. It seemed like this was just emotional. She was sitting in the hammock just getting mad that she wasn't the one being talked to. I mean, it must be. I think of myself as like a kind of a paranoid person, not completely, but I mean, being on Survivor with 10 people left at one camp, that is like got to be brutal. Even if you are in the majority of 7, that has got to be tough. So I think what was that was Storm that came out from Sydney there.
Mm-hmm.
She also mentioned,
yeah, and I. Go ahead.
Well, she also mentioned that she knows that Scott has an idol and that she can tell whoever she wants. She didn't do that this episode, but I think that line, they snuck that one in there for a reason. I could see Sydney leaking that information because she didn't do it tonight when she was discussing things with Aubrey and Debbie. So she has the potential to not only say that, but also threaten Kyle with that.
Well, because guess what? Ty revealing that super writing at the end, which is a huge bonehead move, people are going to be wondering now, how does Ty know this? Does somebody else that he knows have the idol? And Sydney already knows that Jason has one, so now she knows that Ty has one because she's probably assuming that, that's why Ty, unless she thinks that there's that good of an alliance between Kyle, Scott, and Jason. Yeah.
I mean,
true. But, like, go ahead.
No, I'm just saying, like, Scott and Ty, they came back to this merge. They were very tight, very close. Sydney wasn't there on that tribe. So it could easily be Scott with the idol. But she knows she's got it down. She's got it pegged down to 2 people. I mean, it's got to be, or Nick, which I completely doubt that. I don't think Nick was ever really all that close with Scott and Kyle. But, yeah, she now knows that it's Ty or Scott.
Yeah, because she knows Kyle has it. So it's interesting, like, this is probably going to blow up because I think other people are going to be like, wait a second. Now we have to assume Ty has an idol because he brought this up. Or if he heard it from Scott or Kyle. So, like, other people are going to be coming up to Sydney like, wait, who has this? Do you know who has the idol? They're going to be talking about it. And I wouldn't be surprised if she just comes straight up and is like, yeah, Kyle. Because it's not doing her any good now. I think she's completely jumped away from that.
Stick with this vote. I mean, this could be the precursor to voting blocks that we saw last season. But my problem with it now is, okay, she tells the whole camp that they have 2 idols that are super idol. What do you do to defend that? I mean, if you split you can. You literally have to vote, get enough votes for one of them to go out, and then they have to use the idol, and then it's the next number. So you have to split, but I don't think they have even close to the number of votes to do that. So that, even if everyone knows, I don't think that really seals anybody's fate over there. They still have, it's tremendously powerful.
Yeah, it's crazy. And the thing is, if they don't make it a super idol and you split the vote right now, let's say it's 3, it's Scott, Ty, and Tim, and they're against the other 6, and you split the votes between, let's say, Jason and Ty can know that it's being split, and then they're both safe anyway. Or you have to take the initiative and try to put 4 on one person, but then you only have 2 to put on another, and the 3 of them vote together and vote out whoever they want. So it's such a tricky situation right now.
Exactly.
With that super idol. It really, and right now is the only time because the number's only going to get smaller. It's only going to get harder.
Yeah, almost. If I'm in that girls alliance against Scott, Ty, Jason, they don't really have any. I think Julia and Michelle flipped. So I think it's them three. If these, the way they vote stick, I'm sure. I know Joe threw a vote at Kyle. I think he just falls right in with the girls. I mean, or he can seal his own fate and go with the guys. Either way, I don't think he's winning. But if I'm in that majority with the girls, I almost say, look, this is our best odds for any one of us to continue. Let's throw all our votes at one of them and flush the super auto out. One of us will go home, but at least at this point, it's 1 in 6. That is, if Joe's in there, or it's 1 in 5. Instead of, like you're saying, when these numbers get really low, you're down to 6 people, and they use it. Then it's like it's gonna be you or another person, or you or another 2 people. Your chances are much higher of going home. I know it's like totally risky and a hard thing to do, but if you don't commit now to doing that, then you might end up getting completely screwed later.
No, it's true. It's true. And this is going to be an interesting episode next week. I hope this isn't the next evacuation next week, because that would totally suck. Because this is going to be a very, very interesting episode next week. I think we jump into the challenge now, which this might be the most uncomfortable challenge since that one in Thailand, the final immunity challenge in Thailand. This is such an awkward pose, and it just makes every part of your back tighten up insanely. I can't believe Thai won this. That was insane. I cannot believe Ty
won this. I mean, he was shaking and readjusting before, Julia even stepped out. Before Jeff went to go get the food, he was having trouble. And then Jeff was counting down. It's almost like he was debating. And then he's like, no, I'm going to sell to Sydney. He had this metaphor about the trees, and he was just dead on. It's like he was Buddha. Like he was doing something otherworldly here. Because Sydney was looking good pretty much the entire time.
Yeah, and the thing is, once you cramped, though, it seemed like because Ty was in pain the entire time, it actually cramped once. That was it. She didn't know what the hell to do because her body just stopped. And Ty, I mean, kudos to Ty. That was impressive. Sucks for Julia that she stepped down before the food came out. Not surprised with the people who stepped down for the food. Nick just too arrogant, too talkative. If he keeps his mouth shut, he doesn't put as much of a target on his back. Probably doesn't rub Julia or Michelle as far the wrong way, and he might still be in the game. And I think that he just pushed too far with this. And talking about, it's definitely going to be there. Range are definitely gone. And he can split the votes. You can't assume that the other people are going to go because they only need to swing 1 or 2, and then that's too dangerous.
Right, and Nick could have stayed up there longer. He stepped off. He volunteered to go off right when Aubrey left because she was the last brain. And that was I honestly think from Nick, that's just that he's going to initiate his power. He's going to rub it in. I'm just going to step off because the brains can't win now. That is – I mean, I know we talk about overconfidence a lot with the words you use, but that action right there is louder than any words, just stepping off right when Aubrey goes. Because he could have won this thing. We saw him win a pretty – grueling challenge. I mean, I know it was more balance and coordination last week, but he's a strong physical guy. So he might have had a chance to win. And he wasn't doing it for food either. It'd be one thing if you're getting a pizza out of it or a burger, but he's just doing it out of pure cockiness and confidence.
And I this is what I was saying at the very, very beginning. I thought his last words were fantastic when he was I totally deserve this. He knew he was being and how cocky he was being. And it's good that he admits it and he doesn't shocked. He knew exactly what he was doing. And he played himself out of the game and he probably knows that and he's probably kicking himself for it. But I don't even know how much he got overcome. I almost feel like he played a Tyson type game here. Where Tyson's first time in Tocantins, where it wasn't so much that he was confident he was going to stay. He just wanted to belittle people. And I feel like that's what happened. He gets voted off, and he really doesn't care. Sure, he would want to win, but I don't think he really cares because when Tyson got voted out in Tocantins, he did not care. He went to Ponderosa. He had a great time at Ponderosa. And you look at what happens here with Nick, and I feel like he just wanted to belittle people as much as he could. And then he ends up losing. And who knows? Maybe Nick plays again. I have no idea. I don't think he does, but who knows? And maybe he's completely different because he says, now I want to win it. But here, I don't think he really had an intention to win. I think he wanted to see how arrogant he'd be and how far he could go with being that arrogant.
Yeah, it's interesting you bring up Tyson. One of the funniest Survivor YouTube videos that you can find, maybe I'll put a link in the description, is when Tyson gives his commentary on his Tocantins boot. And he tells Jeff at Tribal Council that he's 100% confident, even though he said inside I wasn't at all confident and I knew something was up. But he needed to like keep up appearances. He needed to let his alliance know that he was confident so that they trusted him. Maybe Nick was doing some of that where if I'm like not confident, I'm worried and paranoid, it's like, wait, you don't trust me? Like that's kind of what happened with Sydney tonight. Like Kyle was like, what's wrong? Like you're the one being shady because you're so paranoid. So maybe there was some of that to Nick. I doubt it just because we saw, so much arrogance from him throughout the season. But maybe that's just a strategy that people use subconsciously. It's like I really got to be totally on board with my alliance or I'm going to get voted out. Do you want to head into the challenge?
And that might be exactly what happened. Yeah, let's head into the challenge. We already talked about this.
Right.
Some people got down.
I was going to say the temptations. That's what I wanted to get to. Do you like all at once? Like you have to step down at this certain point. I liked it, but it's I don't know. I love the rounds of food. I love when Jeff brings out something new and the people go and they go, and it's almost like you are rewarded for staying up there longer. So it's not like you can just bail out because you're not going to win. It's like, let's say there's 3 people left. That's when it really is getting down to it. People are up there for 30 minutes. Then you still have a chance to get food. I kind of like that. It's like there's what I want up like a menu. That was kind of dumb, but I like the rotation of food. I like as many temptations as possible. So you had a lot of people that, I don't know, if they'd stepped down in another season, they maybe would have gotten like lemonade or a cookie or something, but this was a complete feast.
See, here's why I liked it. I have no problem when they step down and he does the rounds of temptations. If it's in a challenge where you just stand on a pole or something and, there's really no way you're going down unless he tempts you to like jumping. With this one, I like that he did it early because nobody knew the amount of pain that they were going to be in or who was going to be able to last longer. You didn't get a feel for where anybody was at. Just do it all once and be like, if you stay up there and in 2 minutes afterwards you start cramping, sucks to be you. And it really does make it I feel like it makes it harder because that there's no food coming out after this.
Right, but
I think even at the point where you're in that much pain.
Yeah, I think that's just a cop-out, though. Like, you can just convince yourself and rationalize it. Oh, I'm not going to win this thing anyway. I'll just step down. I kind of like it. Man, if I last 5 more minutes, I got a slice of pizza coming. I last 5 more minutes after that, there's going to be a burger. I'm more into the rounds, I got to say. This was fun. I like when they mix it up. I like when they try to keep the survivors on their toes. We haven't seen that many temptations in recent seasons. It used to be all the time, like every reward challenge or every mini challenge. So I do like seeing it back, but I definitely prefer, keep pushing yourself because the decision becomes harder when there's like 4 people left, 3 people left, as opposed it's early and you can just be like, all right, well, like everyone's doing it.
This is interesting though because this is one of those things where after you miss out on the food, I think it makes you want it more to win. Because you missed out on the food and you're like, wait, I gave up food for this. I better win. And I think that's kind of what happened with Ty here is he was like, I gave up so much for this. I want to see how far I can push my body. I'm going to win this damn thing. I think that's kind of what the mentality was. That's why I was so surprised when Nick stepped down. Yeah, you beat all the brains, but you gave up the food. Why don't you just stay in there then? Like he didn't look like he was in that much pain. Just stay in.
That's a very fair point. I like that point from you. I'm still sticking with I want the rounds because it's just more fun, I think, but that's a very good point. Maybe that is why Ty kind of pushed himself so far. It's not like Sydney was someone you wanted to, get out or was on the bottom anyway. So there wasn't that big of a reason. Let's head to pre-tribal here. This was a lot of fun. The main thing is I wonder what Aubrey – she must have known 100% that Julia and Michelle were with them because she had that conversation with Nick pretty early on that the vote was being split and that if she writes Debbie's name down, then she's pretty much safe. So if you're Aubrey and like Michelle and Julia aren't straight with you or they're like, we'll get back to you or really considering it, then you're left in a really tough spot. Like, do I, write Nick's name down or do I, write Debbie's name?
It's true. And I think what it came down to more than anything is she probably I'm surprised she didn't she must have been 100% that it was definitely going to be Nick, and the girls must have really actually had something here. Because if you're not 100% on this, you definitely write down either Debbie or just write down Debbie's name, because your vote's not going to make the difference anyway if they're splitting votes. So she must have known 100% what was going on here, and that she only needed to sway really one of them, because Sydney was in, Joe's in, Debbie's in, Aubrey's in. That's 4. If they're splitting the votes.
Who voted for Kyle? Ty did. Okay. Interesting.
Yeah,
I didn't know. My feed was kind of going in and out there. Okay. So, yeah, they had everyone on board for Nick. Interesting.
What I found interesting here, and see if you agree with me on this. What I found interesting here is that when Michelle and Julia, they were playing this up like Michelle and Julia had a decision to make here. And they almost like after like Sydney brought this whole thing up, they had that confessional of Michelle saying like, I want to be like the person who makes a big move here. And, I haven't been told or whatever, but I want to make the move. This is my time. I think I can do it, but I want to make sure that it doesn't end up screwed. And it almost made it seem like it was partially Michelle's move. What I found interesting here is Michelle and Julia voting with them or not, it was either going to end up in a tie or it was going to end up as nothing. And they only really needed to sway one of them. And they really made it seem like Michelle and Julia were like the key. It was a landslide. And even if it's not a landslide, if the other side is splitting the votes, it could have been 3-3-4. And I know the beauties were supposed to be voting all on Debbie, which would have made it 4-2-4. So, like, it would have been a tie. But Sydney and all them knew, it could have been 4-3-3.
I mean, but that's the point, though, because if you don't get more than 4, then there's a tie 4-4, the revote, then the majority has 6. And then they just vote out, Debbie. Right? If Julia and Michelle are on the fence.
I don't know.
Like, I see where the tie is that you're talking about, where it's like, you have Sydney and then the brains, that's 4. Then the rest, they think they're going 4-3. If it is 4-4, then it end up being 2. I guess it depends who Sydney's vote was for. If Sydney's vote was for Aubrey, then there would have been a tie. If Sydney's vote was for Debbie, then it would have been a 3-3-4. So that's in that case, they would not have needed Michelle and Julia. This is a pretty strategic.
Lost you.
Temptations we like better, but this was.
I've completely lost you. Start over.
I just said this was a very interesting vote. A lot to think about. I don't know how long ago I got cut off, but lots of possible ties. Whether Sydney was voting for Debbie or Aubrey did make a difference in whether they needed Julia or Michelle. But let's go to Tribal Council, I guess. I mean, the editing here was very well done. We went to Tribal with – I did have a feeling Nick was going just because of the edit and Jeff really painting up, this is your first Tribal Council where you're not immune. We'll see how it goes. They gave us a couple – bless you, Phil. They gave us a couple lines after that where Nick's like, yeah, I don't want it to be bittersweet. And then Jason's like, it won't be. Nick's like, I know.
They played it up so much, dude.
More than they really needed to. I'm sure if Nick survives this episode, they don't dwell on that as much. I was feeling Nick, but still well edited. Tribal Council, tie. I mean, the Yao-Man comparisons have been there since, the preseason. You can still hear me, right?
Yeah, no, I can.
Okay.
I can. This makes
Very
cool. Sense to me.
I mean, that's the point of a podcast, to be able to hear. We just do video because we don't know else how to do it. Ty, yeah, like he's been compared to Yao-Man. Yao-Man would never, ever, ever in a million years do anything like this. Just call out a super idol Tribal Council. I've always thought, I mean, I know Ty's, he's looked for idols on like day one, things like that. And I know he's playing hard, but Yao-Man was like a very, very good strategist. He knew the game really well. I don't know if Ty is on that level. And I guess now I can say I know that Ty is not on that level because this is Keith Nail level stuff right here.
Mm-hmm. Dumb, awful move. And like when he tried to cover it up, like his cover up wasn't even that good. Nobody else knew this. And I don't know why Ty brought this up. The only ones who knew were Kyle, him, and Scott. And I don't know why he brought this up to everybody else there and like acted like it was common knowledge and then tries to play it off like, oh, somebody told me. And it's like, well, you didn't really remove any target from any of your backs because now everybody knows that there's an idol out there. Because obviously somebody talked about the super idol, so there's an idol out there in somebody's pocket. And now everybody knows that it's there. It's either in Ty, Jason, or Scott's pocket. Everyone knows. So big mistake here. Horrible move. I don't understand what happened. I think he's LVP for this move alone. I really do. He's in the minority on the vote, and this was terrible.
Yeah, and he voted for Jason, which I'm still not sure why he did that. And you can add on, I remember Joe saying a few episodes that he had his theory. There are no idols this season. That's the twist. Paranoia running wild. They're not going to give us any idols. So maybe people say, look, it's been a while. There hasn't been idols. Niels is gone, so it's only them. Like you keep saying, it's only Scott, Kyle, and Ty that really know about this. Sydney knows about it. But maybe people were honestly of that feeling that there aren't any idols. So he really dropped the bag here. Spilled the beans.
Yeah, this was bad. This was a really bad move. I think Ty's LVP for this. Horrible move. I don't understand what it accomplishes. I'm curious to see what happens next week, though. I'll tell you, because next week it looks like Scott and Jason have had enough. They're going to backstab everybody. And, maybe we'll get to see what Chris Doherty always said. When you're there with the women, if there's enough of them, they'll turn on each other. That's what. And maybe this women's alliance doesn't stick together, and they start turning on each other a little bit. I know that it's a very baby alliance here, where it's only 5-4, and it was only for one episode, and it might have been more to get rid of Nick than anything, and just break up this arrogant trio. But you never know. You really don't. This is a tough season to figure out where people stand and where they're actually sitting, and it'll be interesting.
For sure. I'm still bullish on this season. I like this season so much. I said last week, or we both said last week, I think the merge episode was the weakest, and it wasn't necessarily a bad episode. This was just anticlimactic. I think that our dude did so, because if they end up going a more predictable Aubrey boot, and now we had a very fun episode. So let's get into comments here. I guess we'll start it off on Twitter as we usually. Phil,
I think I'm going to read the comments. I don't know if you're coming through for everybody, but you just you're cut. So I'm going to read the comments here. I don't know if you're coming through for everybody. I don't know if this is just because I'm actually doing this with you, but that last thing, I had no idea what you said. I heard somebody, and that's all I heard. I heard one word.
I'm ordering new internet very soon. I'm in a new place. We need new internet, and that will happen soon. I assume I'm not coming in very clearly because what?
Exactly. Heard. I assume I'm not coming in very clearly because. We'll figure it out. It'll be figured out, but I'll read the Twitter things. Obviously, you can answer and stuff, but I'll read them just so that.
This is now the Phil show.
Start with Mel. This is the Phil show. And will have random comments that hopefully come through. I can't believe Ty let that slip at Tribal about the Super Idol. Do you think it will hurt him? Where does Ty sit for you right now in terms of being able to win? I like the change location. Maybe this will work out for us. Where do you think Ty – do you think that Ty is just shooting himself in the foot since the beginning here? Do you think that he's in a little bit of trouble?
Well, I didn't change locations. I just leaned back. I wanted to get comfortable because I thought you were just going to do all the talking. This was going to be the Phil show. I think Ty can still win, but I don't know. I put him – well, we're doing our 3-3-3 next week. We don't want to spoil all that for everybody. Let's answer this next week.
Okay. Jesus, dude, you're so much clearer right now. It's ridiculous. It's like you just started over. Mel again. I love Blindsides. Wonder how Ponderosa will be for Neil. Poor guy. I think Neil and Nick will probably get along pretty well. I think that they're both really big fans of the game. I think they'll probably hang out. I think Nick's ego will kind of go away a little bit, and I think the two of them will probably have a good time.
How can you not have a good time out there?
Did you watch the Ponderosa?
I watched Neil's, yes.
I wonder what Niels was. Niels was pretty good, but it was also very depressing. I wonder if they're going to play up like Nick wanting to play again, like they did with Neil.
Everyone wants to play again this season. Once they had second chances is now like a thing. Everyone's trying to get one.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's true. Everybody's going crazy on Twitter. Get back on. Steel Punch. I'm serious right now, though, before I even go any further. You're so much clearer now. Don't move. Keep doing whatever the hell you're doing. It's working so much better. Steel Punch. If the Girls Alliance thing is legit, then I feel like Joe will be the last man standing and get a Tarzan at it. I think I believe this, too. I think Joe might be the last guy left in this game. And I think that he's going to get fourth place or third place or fifth place or something like that. But I think he might be the last guy left in this game, and we might see like maybe like a finale that's depending if it's a final 2 or 4 girls and a guy. I really do think that Joe might be the last one and really without a chance to win because I think the guys are just shooting themselves right now.
That's very. I mean, there's a chance. I'm also thinking like a Keith vibe. The comments in San Juan del Sur.
Do you think that the medevac? I know, like, we don't want to get too into it, but like, do you think the medevac is going to be somebody huge left in the game, such as Kyle, Scott? I would even put Aubrey in there right now, or Sydney. Or do you think it's going to be somebody like Joe, or even Julia, who's a little bit on the lower end here? Do you think it's going to be somebody smaller or somebody bigger right now?
I have no idea. I as much as we kind of, for our podcast, we like looking at previews, we like knowing the tribe divisions before we swap, all that stuff, which a lot of podcasts don't do. They just kind of take what they've seen and talk about it. We like forecasting. I have no clue with the medevac, and it could be anybody. I mean, there's not really any hints right now about if it's a big player or a small player. So, I mean, are you leaning one way?
No, the only thing I'm thinking is it's kind of like what I said to you before we went live. I think it's not going to be like Eric thing back in Caramoan where it was kind of like a pointless one. He only had 2 more votes to go, but like he didn't have an alliance. He didn't really have a move. He was the next one on their chopping block anyway. I feel like whoever goes here is probably going to be somebody that at least had moves left to make. And that's what kind of makes me a little sick about this because I feel like everybody left in the game because it's so wide open. Everybody has moves left to make. It's going to suck no matter who this is because it's not there who really have no chance.
Yeah, I mean, there's a very, very good chance that no matter who gets medevac, it is a bummer. And the later we get, it becomes more of a bummer. So at this point, I just got to I don't want to hope that anybody goes home, but you got to hope it's like Joe at this point.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Steel Punch, when Nick said, I'm trying not to be arrogant to Aubrey, I was laughing. So that was hilarious. I mean, he knew he was being arrogant, though. So and I liked Aubrey's reaction, just like a little head nod, like, yeah, of course. Yeah, but of course you are. Like, she knew. Everybody knew. Let's see. And Curtis, do you think there will be a pagonging of the beauties? I don't think so at all. I'm more worried that there could be a pagonging of the guys than a pagonging of the beauties. I think the beauties are fine. I think Michelle is fine. I think Julie is fine. I think Ty has the idol, so he's at least fine for a little bit. I'm more worried that the guys are going to get picked one by one until Joe's the only one left. And it will be kind of like One World where it's like, oh, like this is our final 6. But these are way better players other than, obviously Kim was great, but at least the other characters are better here than that.
Yeah, I'm not too worried about a pagonging going anyway. I just think with the 3-3-3, a lot of things can happen. We still have 2 idols that are both in male hands, even though the girls do have the numbers 5-4. A lot can happen. I'm not really.
Okay, didn't hear that. A lot can happen. I'm not really. That's what I got. I don't know. And Curtis, what happened to that awesome music they used to play whenever Blindside was about to happen? I missed that music. Classic stuff. I know what you're talking about. It's just they move on. It's sad.
I miss
Giovanni Oriana. So do I. It was better. It was cooler. I don't know if Will's trying to say interrupting him because he's just not moving. Go back to sitting on the couch, dude. Go back to the couch. It's so much better.
I mean,
How are we doing?
Now we'll go back. It's so much better. It's so much better. Crazy. Like I couldn't see you before. You weren't moving, and now you're fine.
Cool.
Wow. Here we go. Giovanni Oriana, do you think the girls targeted the right guy? This is a tricky one. What do you think?
I don't know. I think so. I think he's probably a person that does what we're talking about, Scott and Kyle having one. Maybe Ty had slipped out earlier and they kind of knew there's an idol around there. And Nick he won that first immunity. It's just good to get the people who can win immunities out of the way just so that you can win them. So I'm okay with the. I mean, he was the biggest threat to win? Of course not, but he was a safe bet, challenge threat. I'm good with it. He's also a schemer. He's a scheming player that can definitely cause trouble. So.
Yeah, no, Nick was a pretty good player. I mean, he really was. Like, I mean, he was overconfident, but like he knew what was going on, and he knew that he was blowing himself up. So it was kind of, I mean, yeah, get rid of Nick here because you're worried about Scott and Jason with the iPhone stuff. Giovanni Oriana again. Do you think this will be like Micronesia where the blind sides happen in interesting ways? I mean, I hope that this keeps jumping back and forth between who's aligned with who. I hope that this doesn't become predictable, and every week it's still kind of changing, almost like second chance.
Yeah, I was saying when I got cut out, I don't know if this came across, I'm not worried about a Pagong at all. That was one of the comments, what's more likely to get Pagonged or whoever, just because it is 3-3-3 and because it is 5 women, 4 males, but the males have those 2 idols. I just think it's going to be a pretty dynamic vote, from here on out. I hope.
Yeah, I agree. So, Larry Miller, was Michelle being salty to Jason during the reward? I don't know if she was actually doing it to his face, but definitely behind his back, she thought he was like annoying. But I don't know. It's so hard to get the read on Jason. That's what we were talking about. It's so hard to read how people actually view Jason, if they like him.
Reading these, and I'll chime in when I have something to say because I know my internet really is pretty brutal.
Okay, well this one's Harold Rice did this last week too. I think with who's the better Neil or who's the better. But here's his who's the better Nick. Nick from Australia, Nick from Panama, Nick from Samoa, or this Nick. And I don't think there's ever been a worse named person. I don't even like any of them. They're all awful.
Yeah, that's a pretty bad. I mean, I can't even remember. I think I remember Nick from Australia. Panama.
He's the one who said he's hurt badly.
Yeah, Panama. I don't even remember Nick from Panama. And then
boot ever.
Yeah,
it wasn't a Nick.
Hard to say.
I don't think there was a Nick in Samoa. Probably this Nick, because at least this.
I thought that's what the comment said.
No, it is, but I don't think there was a Nick in Samoa.
There was Mick. Maybe he's thinking of Mick.
Mick. That's probably what he's thinking. Yeah, because I don't think there was a Nick. Harold Rice thinks that Scott and Ty should have voted out Julie in episode 6 to prevent. And I don't think they were thinking about a women's alliance that early. I think they thought they had Julia in their pocket, not realizing that Julia is also a game player. And that's what's cool right now is they're all game players.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah. Johnny talks sports MVP Julia because I feel like it LVP Nick because he was overconfident, but Nick got voted out, so he can't be the LVP. That's like our rule. Giovanni Oriana, is Jason a threat, GOAT, a potential winner, or none of the above? That's great because that's what we're going to be doing on the next one. That's Sunday. That's exactly what we're going to divvy it up as, too. We're divvying up as GOAT, threat, and potential winner.
Internet probably won't be here by Sunday, but probably for the next recap episode. So
yeah, but Sunday we can still do our thing. We'll figure it out. Even if you have to come over and sit next to me. Which I think everybody wants. I think everybody wants to see us in the same room. I don't think they believe that we're like anything but heads. Let's see here. Harold Rice, is it going to be fun to watch Scott and Jason be scoundrels and team up with Ty to take down the Girls Alliance? I think they're going to take down the entire Girls Alliance. It's probably going to be fun now, though, to watch them destroy things and hide things. And it's more fun because there's a pair of them instead of just one, I think.
Mm-hmm.
This is great. I love the Johnny Talk Sports, you got to admit Julia killed it in the reward challenge. I already said she did. Johnny Baratek, I'm so nervous for next week's episode based on the preview. I'm probably going to feel the same as Will did after 3. So I think he's thinking Julia's. I don't know.
Oh, no.
I don't think so. But, yeah. Larry Miller, this is I have upsetting news for you, Phil. Michelle and Nick are dating. This is interesting news to me, not really upsetting. This is great because pretty much what this means is that means Michelle has to win because Nick obviously just started dating the winner of Survivor. And if he blindsides him and he goes and dates her, obviously it's only because she wins.
How do we know this, though? Because I think a lot of times Castaway, I mean, I'm not saying it's wrong, but a lot of times I think castaways like to mess with the fans and maybe post an Instagram picture or something on social media where it's like, oh, we're loved. I don't know. I mean, if it's true, that's fine. I mean, I'm sorry for you, Phil. But if that is true also, it must mean that Nick isn't as arrogant as he came off. Because if he really was that bad of a guy, Michelle probably wouldn't date him.
Exactly. I don't think that they're actually dating. I think that was like something that, like you said, they did to like kind of mess with the fans. It seemed like a lot of people were looking into that, like, oh my God, this is going to be the final 3, or they're going to go really far together. Michelle's never going to backstab Nick after like they played it up. Well, guess what? Nick's gone and Michelle backstabbed him. I don't think they're actually dating. Emily, who do you guys think will go on an immunity run and how many wins that person would get? I don't know if we're going to see one this season. I think we're going to see a huge mix where, like, every week somebody different's winning. Maybe somebody wins 2, maybe somebody wins 3, but I don't think in a row.
I mean, Ty looked pretty good. Someone commented on, I was like, Nick is going to go on an immunity run. He won 1 immunity, and then they commented, take that, I'm right. And then he got voted out. So I'm not taking that.
Not taking nothing. Morgan, why do you guys –
Keep going.
What's up, man? Why do you think Ty voted for Kyle?
Oof. Maybe he knew something was up and he wanted to like prove that he was in on the plan the whole time, but figured they would probably target Kyle. Instead, they targeted Nick. And so he just was like, darn. If he wrote Nick's name down, he would have looked like he was in on the plan.
We haven't really seen it between – no, you can go. You're good.
Okay. I just mean if you're Ty, you can, if you have a one-on-one conversation with someone like Michelle, you could be like, oh, yeah, Sydney told me at the last second or something like that. And if you vote with the majority, no one's really going to question that. It's like, how else would you know? And maybe he just threw it. Jason, that's like my only explanation. It is tough to think of a reason why, because they seem like they're pretty good allies at this point.
Like, I find interesting. We haven't seen it since the beginning, but the beauty girls liked Ty at the beginning. I know they were like a little skeptical of him, and they were saying like, oh, he's looking for the idly sketchy. But then they started to like him, like with the whole Caleb buddy thing. They liked that. We haven't seen him really interact with Michelle at all, and we saw very little of him interact. It seems like he's interacting everybody else, and I wonder if they still do have something going on that just doesn't end up playing out huge, but that they are kind of like together on the side, and the editors are just choosing not to show it for some reason. And he was tipped off by Michelle or Julia, because it seemed like somebody had to have said something to him.
Yeah, it's like a dormant alliance or something. I don't know, but if they had said something to him and it wasn't just a read, he would have voted Nick. I don't know why you would vote Jason. So
it's so weird.
It is weird. We'll get that question answered eventually. I mean, maybe Kyle's already answered it on Twitter if he ever did find out that answer.
True. All right, over to you two. Got John Smith, MVP Sydney for getting Nick out, LVP Ty for dropping the bomb about the Super Idol showing where everyone stood. I think that's spot on. Cooper and the Goons. Do you think the women teaming up is a voting block or an actual alliance is going to move forward together? I don't think it can move forward together because there's just too many variables in play right now. What do you think?
Yeah, I don't know. I honestly, it's we saw the whole voting unit thing last season. Are they really going to pull that off, or they're just going to change votes every week without seeing that on TV? I think the girls want to stick together. I think they're going to try to kind of form an alliance, but I don't think it will work. But I don't think they're going to have this idea in their head that there are voting blocks or voting units that we're going to switch every week. I don't think anyone's going to really bring that up. I think us as fans will talk about it because we saw it last season. But their plan is to say, look, we have the numbers now. Why break this? They can guarantee themselves Final Five if they stick together, not taking idols into account. They split the votes the right way, which they probably can't do.
Cool to see where Joe said that. And even in this girls' alliance, it's going to be interesting to see if Aubrey, Debbie, and Joe stick together in trials when the time comes. Because I think Aubrey, Debbie, and Joe are really tight. And as much as like last week, Debbie kind of rubbed them the wrong way and was trying too hard, if they're in an alliance and you can get to the final six and have all three of them not stay together, you can get this far together. Just count out that happening too. And like the girls' alliance just kind of masking for the Brains just doing what they can to get as far as they can together.
It's very, very true. Very true. That's why I think Aubrey has a good shot to win. She
does. She definitely does. Crimson Unicorn, we already answered that. That was about the Jason thing. We really don't have a good answer. Henry Alford, Scott and Jason shouldn't have talked backstories. All it did was put a target on the back. Sydney picked up on that. Sydney's becoming one of my favorite players in recent seasons. I think she'll win. MVP Sydney. She got out of the shadow of Scott and Jason. Now she's in a great position with connections everywhere. I agree. Fantastic tonight. I just hope that wasn't an overreaction that ends up biting her in the butt. Because now these guys have idols, and they might want revenge on you.
Yeah, that's one thing. And I worry she has no anchor over there on that girls' alliance. At least it doesn't seem like it. I think, she and Debbie bonded early when the tribe swapped, but I don't think it's like Scott and Jason, she was with them since day one. It seemed like they really were a tight threesome, and for her to kind of hop over, who is her go-to? I mean, Debbie has Aubrey, and then Michelle and Julia are a pair. So I think, maybe that can be good for her if the girls do find themselves going to Final Five, and she's the swing vote. But at this point, I don't really envy Sydney's spot all that much because you just don't have that really trustworthy person that you can, plan with, scheme with, and trust.
Here's the thing. I think the best move would have been to sit there at the end against Scott and Jason. I think she wins. And I think she just screwed that up tonight.
Potentially.
Yeah, potentially. But I agree with you. She doesn't have an anchor. She doesn't have anybody over there. Michelle and Julia, they might not be the tightest, but Michelle is definitely not tighter with Sydney than Julia, and I don't think Michelle. And Debbie and Aubrey, I think, are pretty tight. I think Sydney might have kind of put her in a tricky situation here where now she's got to do it a little bit on her own. She doesn't have anybody. And you just got rid of two huge targets as your shield. You know what I mean? I mean, Jason and Scott were always going to be bigger targets than you.
Yeah, and Sydney is physically threatening and socially threatening herself. So she now is this threat on this alliance where she doesn't really if Michelle votes out Sydney, that doesn't make Michelle look bad at all. They never really had this agreement. I mean, same goes for everyone else in that alliance, and they can kind of vote her off and not feel too much shame or feel bad or worry about jury votes or anything if you're voting out Sydney.
It's true. It's very true. Daniel Day Jesus, as Will would call him. I think Scott can win after today. I don't know. It's always the glaring issue of money sitting there, and he's kind of, rubbing people the wrong way a little bit. Last comment from Crapples Toby. Jatia or Sydney? Sydney, obviously. Anybody who actually says they like Jatia is just trolling, or they're trying too hard to, be weird. Where are you at, Will? Will.
I'm here, man. I mean, I know that I'm going in and out, but you're going in and out too, so I don't get to hear the full thing of these comments right now.
Oh, okay. I'm just saying that was the last one. That's why I was wondering where you were at.
I'm here. I guess for the end of this.
That's why I was sitting here like caring.
That's funny.
Yeah.
Three,
Anyway, we don't have the boot list scored. What? Dude, see, you just came in and said I already revealed 2. I didn't get anything before that. God, this is fun. I love doing this. What? Say that again, because I want to know what you said there.
I've already revealed 2 of my 3-3-3, so I'm going to give a sneak peek, 1 in each category. So I've already said Aubrey is a contender. Am I coming through?
Yeah, no, you're good. Good. Go. Hurry up before it goes away.
This is awful. This podcast. That's why no one's watching. We have Scott. He can't win, and then I have Sydney as a contender. That might change for Sunday, but there's my little one of each.
You as contender. I thought you were giving one of each.
Sorry. Aubrey's front runner. Sydney's a contender. Scott is a no shot.
That's interesting. I won't give any of mine away, but Michelle's the winner. That's it. So there's my sneak peek. But this will be fun to do on Sunday. Hopefully we can come through a little bit better than this.
Probably not.
Right now, we're kind of doing stop motion. It's kind of cool when you're watching it from my aspect. I don't know how it looks for everybody else, but while it's live, Will's doing stop motion animation right now. He just jumped across the screen like 3 times all over his arms. I don't know what happened. We'll have the boot list update. We'll try to make this a little bit cooler. Maybe we can get Will in the same room or somewhere better. Maybe he can get internet. Who knows? Maybe we can beg AT&T and tell them we do a really high-profile podcast that's really important and we need the internet updated now. Who knows? Lots to do. Vote for MVP, vote for MVP, although I think it's Sydney and Ty. And Will's got something else to say. Go.
I was just thinking I could maybe go into my office on Sunday. I don't know if anyone will be there, but I could probably just go in, use the office internet. Maybe.
Look at you. That would be – and you could work overtime.
No.
Yeah, we tried. Well, all right. We'll see Sunday. We'll see what happens. Yeah.
Subscribe and like the video and comment and, be great fans for this shitty podcast. Thanks so much. Happy birthday to my friend Allie. It's her birthday today. I promised I'd give a shout out. Probably isn't coming through, but at least I'm
trying. Did she watch? Did she watch?
I think – I don't know.
Then screw her shout out. That's baloney.
I think her parents watch or something.
Oh, that's cool.